Hi, welcome to the presentation of the Dalton Wade Insta-Sale program. We are going to cover today how you could use the Insta-Sale program to effectively compete with other iBuyer programs such as Zillow Instant Offers, OfferPad, and the like. The first thing you need to do is identify what type of properties and sellers are a good fit for the Insta-Sale program. One of the most common types of sellers that we come across are sellers that must sell their house quickly and have 100% certainty it'll be sold and it'll close on a specific date. This type of seller may have some sort of life event that requires them to close on a specific date, and they can't risk the potential of a sale falling through due to mortgage commitment issues, appraisal issues, inspections, repairs, and the like. Additionally, we're finding today that we have a lot more sellers who are looking to limit the number of people through their house, and they do not want to show their house over and over, especially during these times with COVID, and they have been a new lead source of sellers for our program, as we're able to offer one showing, an offer, and then a closing at their convenience. Another growing segment we're starting to see are sellers that want flexibility to close when they want, not when the buyer wants to close. We can help meet this goal with these buyers or sellers, and we close as quickly as they want, maybe in 1 week, or we could wait multiple months whenever they're ready to close. Generally, these type of sellers dictate the closing date, again based upon some life event such as school openings, closings, transfer in jobs, or other type of relocations. The more traditional seller is the one who has a house or a property that requires extensive repairs or will not qualify for traditional financing. They may have a bad roof, defective electrical systems such as aluminum throughout the house, and they don't want the aggravation of dealing with multiple contractors not showing up, doing the job right, finding a contractor, or they simply don't have the capital to pay for the repairs. So in those cases, we buy the houses as is, where is. Actually, that's how we buy them all, but that is a benefit to this type of seller. We've also had our fair share of hoarders, and actually maybe not quite at the level of hoarders, but elderly clients who have 30, 40 years of accumulation of stuff in their house, and they emotionally, physically, or financially don't have the ability to really clean it up and empty the house. These type of sellers just prefer to either downsize into a condo, potentially move in with their kids, or many times they're in the process of moving into a nursing home. So what we do is we give them a service where we will clean out the house and dispose of all the contents, and we just build that into the disposal costs into our offer. It's also quite common that we'll have sellers that are going through a messy divorce and one of the spouses is just not being cooperative in allowing showings. So this ends up being a mechanism or an avenue that they could use to sell the house, get it approved by the court, and then they can move on in their separate ways. Along those same sort of lines, a lot of times we have landlords that come to us and they want to sell their house and they don't want their tenants to know. Or the tenants aren't being cooperative, and a lot of the times they're not cooperative because they're actually going through the eviction process, and the landlord's just really frustrated with it. So we could come in, we will take them with the tenants in place, and we will proceed and then follow through on the eviction. We've also had our fair share of clients who inherited a house, is in the process of going through probate, certain things need to be paid off, and what they like to have is a solid offer for once everything comes out of probate, the judge can sign off on it, proceeds are distributed accordingly, and then they get their little piece of pie. But this way they know they have a solid sale as soon as everything's signed off as far as probate. And finally, a type of seller we've been seeing that's also become much more common is a seller who just really wants their privacy, and they do not want public or photos out in a public on the internet, like on realtor.com, Zillow, and what have you, of the inside of their house. Maybe because it's messy, maybe it's because there's something a little bit not traditional going on in there, but nonetheless they just don't want photos of the inside of their house out in the public, nor do they want their neighbors to know that they're even looking to move. So we can help out in any of these sorts of situations, and as you present these options to your client, you really want to present it to them that we're offering them a service that goes over and above what a normal MLS sale will do, and they get complete control and flexibility over all aspects of the sale process, and they don't have to bend to what the buyer's needs and desires are. So if you do have a client that might fall into one of those categories, the next thing to determine is if the numbers might work for your client. So to determine that, what you have to ask yourself and get from your client is, what's most important to your client? Is it getting top dollar for their property? Or do they value a quick guaranteed closing with no repairs, buyer traffic, discreet sale, or the like? If their goal is to get top retail dollar, they're probably not going to be a good fit for us. If it's any of the other items, they may be a good fit for us. Okay, so if you think they might be a good fit for the Insta-Sale program, what you really want to try to get a feel for is what you think your seller would be willing to accept. And then we got to compare that to what we look at, what'll be the anticipated selling price of the property as it currently sits, with no repairs, no updates, or what have you. And that is what it would get on the MLS just as it sits as a cash offer. Now, for this part of the process to work well, it's really important that you can accurately determine the current market value, taking into consideration the property's conditions and the repairs that are needed. If your estimate's off, you're going to set an unattainable expectation with the client. So let's kind of walk through an example where we both agree that the property's anticipated selling price is $150,000. On a property that has an anticipated selling price of roughly $150,000, our offer is going to come in $20,000 to $25,000 less than the anticipated selling price of the property. But let's actually really break that down, because we want you to understand what our costs are so you can intelligently speak to your clients if they have questions based upon them. Okay, so first thing is, one of our costs is we have a 3% commission to you. So when we purchase it, you get paid your 3%. When we rehab it and resell it, we're going to have to pay the buyer's agent 3% also. And there's a solid 4% for closing costs, all depending upon how the deal's structured. So right there you have 10% in costs right off the bat. Now for the other 10 to 15% we're going to be below the anticipated selling price. That's going to cover our carrying costs and profit. That's going to be things such as utilities, taxes, insurance, funding costs, and the unexpected, and obviously a little bit of profit. So going back to our example, on a $150,000 house, 20% off is $30,000, so our highest offer would be $120,000. It could be less based upon some other factors, but that gives you a basic high water mark of where our offer will be. And if your seller really isn't open to that, we don't need to waste anybody's time. But what I'd like you to do is, we found the most effective way to present this sort of situation to a seller is to speak to them in terms of what they're going to walk away with is net money in their pocket. So if we go back to that $150,000 sale, and they do put it on the MLS, and they do sell it, they're going to pay you 3%, they're going to pay the buyer's agent 3%, they're going to have 4% in closing costs, so they're going to have $10,000 in, or 10% in actual costs, which is $15,000, so they're going to net $135,000. Now, our offer being $120,000, there's a $15,000 spread there. We get that. But that's part of the service they're paying for to control the entire process. That gives them the ability, A, to pick the date when they close. Could be in 5 days, could be in 3 months, whatever they desire. Additionally, it guarantees them the sale and closing of the property on the day that they pick. Now, why am I making a big deal about that? I'm sure you've had many cash offers on properties in the past. And what happens is somebody puts in a cash offer, they require an inspection period, 10 days later they're done their inspection, and then they come back to you and say, I've changed my mind. Or, you know what, we didn't know about X, Y, and Z, and we want $15,000 off. Or even, hey, the roof seems kind of shaky, we want you to replace it at your cost before we close. With our offers, none of that's going to happen. They have a solid offer that's going to close on the date that they want. So, not only all those examples that I just gave you could happen, but what could also happen is if the person backs out, now your seller's starting over from scratch. They may not get the same offer, it may be less, it could more than likely will be further out, and that could be messing up the timelines of your seller. So hopefully that'll give you an effective strategy on how to present the Dalton Wade Insta-Sale program to your sellers or to your clients, and you could show them the spread really isn't that much and they are getting complete and total control over the entire process. Now, as I mentioned before, the biggest part of this is the analysis and determining the current market value of the property as it sits. That is key. As if you value the property too high and you tell your client that you feel it's worth 180, and then when we talk to you and discuss it and we say it's 150, they're not going to be happy with that. They're going to wonder why our offer came in so much lower. So that's where the communication with you as the agent and us as the buyers in the Insta-Sale program is really critical. Look, we understand a lot of agents, they don't have a general contracting background or experience in renovations and know what the costs will be. So if you have any questions along those lines, please reach out to either Jeff or myself. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask you for pictures. And we're going to ask you what's the situation with the sale. And anything else that's material about the property that can help us really zero in on what the real anticipated selling price is of the property as it sits. We've done hundreds of these over the past few years, and actually between both of us, we've been doing it for a total of about 15 years. So given all that experience, we're usually pretty good on ballparking the initial number, and then once we come out to the house, then we can really nail it down. So on the next page, you kind of see the Insta-Sale program overview. Again, if you have somebody that needs to move quick, they don't want the uncertainty of financing, appraisals, inspections, don't have the capital for the repairs, out of states, can't do a clean out, don't want buyer traffic through their house, or neighbors knowing they're selling, going through probate, messy divorces, tenant issues, any of those situations we can help. Then at the end of the day, our offer, or the net to the seller, it's generally going to be 10 to 15% below what they could get on the open market, but they have total control of the closing and the entire process. Now, what are the benefits to you? First of all, you get paid your 3% commission. Second, you stay in control of the process with the seller until the purchase is complete. Third, you now have a cash buyer program to offer your clients that can compete with the national iBuyer companies like Zillow Instant Offers, like OfferPad, and the like. But here's where the real difference comes in. We are local. And with that, we can make solid offers the same day. National companies, what they do is you put in a request in on their website to get an offer. 3 to 5 days later, they come back with you and they may give you a ballpark number. 5 to 8 days later, they'll actually get somebody to come out to your house. Once the person comes out and spends about an hour and a half there doing a full inspection, they're going to send that inspection up to corporate. 5 to 10 days later, corporate's going to say, we didn't know you had this issue, that issue, this issue, that issue. We're going to deduct $13,000 for those things, $20,000. Now, you're 3 to 4 weeks into this process, you don't have the original offer that you were made, and you've wasted a bunch of time, and you have a decision to make. Do you accept a lower offer, or do you start the process all over with another wholesaler, another buyer, or putting it on MLS? So when we walk into somebody's house, we give them an offer that day. When we are there, we do our inspections, usually 20-30 minutes at the very most. So when we leave that property, your client has a solid offer that's not going to change. So now that we've been able to agree on price, the next part is we're going to use Dalton Wade's preferred title company to do the closing on the purchase. And that is really it in a nutshell. Now, if you need us to explain any part of the cash offer program to a client, definitely feel free to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to partner on a call. Once we have that call, we set up our site visit and you're good to go. So if you have any questions on the process, please give Jeff a call at 813-376-8904. Thank you.